costing thousands of pounds a week, because the NHS and the care system can't pass a simple file between them. One patient, one record, from ward to care home to GP.
With base 44,
end of block beds,
a simple...
the botched discharges, and the savings run into billions. The one system we had that seemed to be fixing this problem was a technology system provided by a company.
Very hallucinogenic effects.
It reduces discharge delays by 15%. And what is Burnham proposing to do? Well, he said that he's considering scrapping it from the NHS. Scrapping the one thing that seems to be working. Well, why? Because the same firm apparently sells technology to the Israelis, and the British Islamists were unhappy about it. So to play to the gallery, get a few votes back, he's going to scrap the tech that's actually working to help discharge in hospitals. That doesn't sound to me like the actions of a man who cares about fixing things, who puts delivery above ideology. Second, the second way to fix this is to scrap the waste and spend it on care. Before this government spends a penny from a dead pensioner's estate, it can take the billions we hand every year in foreign aid. As Chancellor in a reform government, I could not look the British taxpayer in the eye and impose a tax. Another tax. Take a penny off them in tax before I had stopped sending taxpayers' money to rich countries overseas. How about stopping spending billions in benefits for those who've never paid in? Or the millions a day in hotels for channel migrants? Or the quangos that nobody voted for? The consultants on £1,000 a day that we see across the public sector? The layers of NHS management that have never once emptied a bedpan? That is not simply about spending more. This country does not lack money for care. It lacks a government with the courage and determination to put its own people first. And thirdly, and here is one point on which Andy Burnham and I agree, pay care workers properly. Care is skilled, demanding, often heartbreaking work, and today it is scandalously underpaid. Care workers have been treated like dirt by successive governments, especially during the pandemic. A very good friend of mine, who was a care worker during that time, used to phone my wife and I and cry down the phone line. She felt no one cared, not her employer, not the government. These people deserve better. Reform exists for decent, hard-working people like this who are being let down day in, day out, but continue to get up early in the morning to go to work, to put their heart and soul into their job, for the good of the community and for the good of their family. But here's the truth that no other party will say. You cannot raise the wages of British care workers while importing a limitless supply of cheap labour to undercut them. This is precisely what has happened. Hundreds of thousands recruited from overseas on wages no British worker could live on, while the sector went nowhere. The soft bigotry of low expectations, in which it's said by the establishment that no self-respecting Brit would do this work. Therefore, we must import cheap labour from overseas. 80% of care workers are Brits. We should be on their side. End the undercutting of their wages. Pay a decent wage to carers so that they can raise a family on it and make it affordable for people to care for their own families. Family, community, country, those are the principles on which reform is built. Do that, and you will discover that Britain doesn't have a shortage of carers. It has a shortage of respect for carers, and reform will fix that. Let me end with this. Think what this whole episode says about our politics. A tax that the public has rejected 4 times. And each time the political class waits a few years, changes the wrapping paper, and asks the same question again. This is how broken Westminster has become. The people gave their answer, and the system simply rejects it and repeats the same question. Reform is different. We believe that money taxed when you earned it, taxed when you saved it, and taxed when you spent it should not be taxed a fourth time when you're laid to rest. We believe a family's home is a legacy. It's not a revenue stream. We believe that the proper response of the British state to the death of someone in their family is sympathy, not a valuation, not a knock on the door by the taxman. Andy Burnham may see this as his legacy, but your legacy is not his to take. It is your legacy, not his. So here is Reform's pledge. We will fight this tax, not as opposition for opposition's sake, but because it is unfair, impractical, and cruel on the people of this country. Because it cuts to the heart of something we in Reform understand is a deep human emotion. The desire to own a home, the desire to pass on what little you've saved to your children and your grandchildren. Because when we say we're change, we mean it. Hard-working Brits come first, every time. My message to Andy Burnham: rule out this tax. End the uncertainty. End the worry. Today. If not, don't ask Westminster. Ask the public. Call a general election. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I've got some questions from the press, and the first is from Olivia Utley from GB News. Good morning, Olivia.
And it does look now that the Reform UK is now going to be taking questions now from reporters, so we do have to slide away for a quick 2-minute break, but when we come back, more coverage ahead. Welcome back, and you're taking a live look there over New York City, roughly 5:30 in the morning over in New York City, 2:30 over on the Pacific, and we're following the latest with the ongoing developments happening in New York City as well as the surrounding areas. And this is where we want to bring in Gabriela Ortiz with Fox 5 New York. And Gabriela, You guys are following a pretty tragic story this morning where two children were swept away in the Passaic River nearby over in New Jersey. Can you tell us a little bit about the latest developments there?
Yeah, so this morning when I got in at around 11 p.m., I had learned of the incident. So we in New York, we just came out of the flood warning area, New York, New Jersey area. A lot of flash flood warnings coming from yesterday, and there were 3 kids between 10 and 11 years old who went to enjoy the river in Passaic, New Jersey. And at around 7:22, we received a wire saying that 3 juveniles were in the river adjacent to Dundee Park in Passaic, New Jersey, and that 2 children went underwater and were distressed. And then shortly after, some more details started to emerge that there was a 10-year-old boy, an 11-year-old girl, and then another 10-year-old girl. The 10-year-old boy and 11-year-old girl that were in the river, along with the other 10-year-old girl, were a pair of siblings. And the 11-year-old girl, who was related to the 10-year-old boy, she made it out of the river, while the 10-year-old boy and the 10-year-old girl remained in the river. And from what we know is someone had gone into the river and tried to help them out, but they got swept away. And as more details emerge, I'm just looking at the wires that came in. At around 9:56, we received a wire that the high tide was hampering the efforts out there in trying to recover I also want to mention it's a recovery mission at this point. There's no rescue in sight. Teams this morning, as our reporter Stephanie Bertini is out there now. As the sun rises, the police activity is still very active there right now. And last night, our reporter Teresa Priolo, she was on the scene getting all the info, because there's a lot of missing pieces right now to this story. We're hearing, 10-year-old boy, there's a lot of just ages, no names involved or attached right now. But the mayor, he spoke to Teresa Priolo, and he was just almost in tears. Just, it's an awful situation right now. And he just mentioned that I have the email right now just from Teresa, who was out there for hours last night. We didn't have time to cover it on our news because it had already been over with, but she was saying that basically the mayor just became super choked up, saying that the little boy's last heroic act was saving his sister, who did make it out of the river. That was the 11-year-old girl that I was mentioning earlier. The unrelated 10-year-old girl that they are still searching for and actively looking forward to recover is, as they say, unrelated to the situation. I mean, unrelated to them in terms of relation. So we're still trying to figure out the names and everything, but the 10-year-old boy was recovered around 10 p.m. last night. I'm just reading off some of the notes that Teresa Priolo, who covered it last night, she was truly getting every detail as everything uncovered. It's an awful situation down in Passaic, New Jersey. Coming out of yesterday was a beautiful day after all the flood watches and everything like that, but Passaic River, the crest was very high, waiting for the water levels to recede. But again, that could easily get lost in translation when you see the beautiful weather out there coming out of all these flood watches. So right now we're just standing by. Stephanie Bertini is going to be on the scene all morning as developments come in, and hopefully maybe we'll hear from the mayor on site today, but we will be updating as this tragic story goes on.
Yeah, it just really is just a devastating story when you hear about how young these kids are. And you mentioned the mayor having very, very choked up during his response here, talking to your reporters there with Fox 5. We do have a clip of that we do want to play out here real quick.
Right now, all of our efforts are in trying to recover the body, but hoping that perhaps small things that we can find the little girl still alive. The 10-year-old boy, as he was going down, maybe an angel, maybe God used him to push his little sister, and she made her way out, so she's home. But the mother has lost her little boy.
And just listening to that with the little boy efforting to save his sister in his final act, just devastating to hear. With the Passai River, is this a place, what do we know about this river? Is this a place where people like to go hang out? Is this a place where people usually go around? Has there been incidences like this before?
Yeah, I mean, just as someone being a New Jersey native, the Passaic River, I mean, it goes along here. The rivers over here yesterday, they were insane. We had our chopper going over them because of all the raised water levels with all our insane flash floodings, making sure that everyone stayed inside because we were receiving a lot of heavy flowing waters. And the way the tides run over here, they take you down very, very quickly. It's just an awful situation. And when you look at the structure of these rivers, they're very narrow. And once those tides come down, they sweep you down very, very, very quickly. Passaic River, I don't know much exactly about it, but just with all the rain flow that we had received yesterday, and the rivers over here, once the tide picks up, there is really no slowing down. And again, even in this video here, the water looks so calm, but essentially when that rush of water just comes down, I mean, in some of the accounts, they were saying that the boy had, I'll just pull up my notes here because the boy had supposedly clung on to the rocks. The water just came so fast that the thing with these rivers, they could look calm. Kids could easily just go in thinking they're, standing in a couple feet of water, but when they take you down, it takes you down very narrow. So again, it's just an awful situation. And one of the accounts that Teresa got last night is as the boy was going under, he pushed his sister's head body and it propelled her into the rocks where she was able to grab on and climb out, while the other two were not able to make it out, unfortunately. And hopefully we get more news for the family this morning on the 10-year-old girl that they are trying to recover out there. There's going to be a lot of people out there searching for them, so hopefully we get more details on this as the morning emerges.
Yeah, just a devastating story. We'll make sure to stay up to date with you guys there at Fox 5 as this continues to unravel. As we're tracking some other news as well over in New York City, we've been also talking about the Legionnaire's disease recently. Any word on that, if that is starting to wind down with the spread, or how is that looking right now?
Yeah, Legionnaire's is starting to wind down with the spread. There are around 6 deaths right now, but it has slowed down dramatically, and now residents of buildings are getting frustrated, so they are speaking out against just the way things and information was basically mismanaged. And there's going to be some press conferences on that today. Maybe we'll cover that in our later news today, but buildings are starting to get fined. As of right now, though, the spread has slowed down drastically.
And then we were also discussing a little earlier about this carriage incident and some of the developments with that, which involves some sort of shock as well. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah. So this morning, basically overnight, we have received a press release from Transportation Workers Union, and they made the claim that the fatal carriage accident in Central Park may have been set off by an electrical shock to the horse, which is completely new information to us. And we reached out to Con Ed this morning because basically in the claims from the press release, they're saying that stray voltage from underground electrical cables had been discovered in the Cherry Hill section of Central Park, and that is exactly where the carriage horse bolted in the accident that killed Romansh Mahajan on June 17th. So the discovery started to raise a series of questions, and one of the horse owners had reached out to Con Ed, and they said that that it seemed that there was a problem and power was cut. And we reached out to Con Ed this morning, and Con Ed stated, Edison observed very lowly levels of stray voltage on July 16th and July 23rd. We determined that neither instance originated from Con Edison equipment. So they are kind of going against that press release that we have received from the Transportation Workers Union this morning. So we also followed up with the New York City Department of Transportation, because Con Edison said that we should refer all questions to them from here on this situation. So again, Haley Fixler, our reporter, is covering that info today, and I've reached out to DOT. So once that comes in, we will make sure to cover it and update it this morning.
A lot of developments over there in New York City. Gabriella Ortiz with Fox 5 New York, thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate it. And with that, you're taking a live look there over the city of New York, where we do have to slide away for a quick 2-minute break, but when we come back, more coverage ahead. And welcome back in. As you are taking a live look there back in New York City, as the sun is starting to rise on the Big Apple and people are starting to make their commutes over to work on this Thursday morning. And again, we just wrapped up our conversation with Gabriella Ortiz over at Fox 5 New York, with some of the latest stories that they are covering in the New York City area. And of course, if you want to check in with their news program for Good Day New York, you can on the Fox Local app, or just head to their website and you can watch it live for free. With that, we do have a live event that is continuing to go on right now. This is actually happening across the pond over in the United Kingdom, where the UK reform is still speaking as they are opposing the Prime Minister's social care plan, and we do still have the speaker at the podium, so let's dip back in and take this event live.
Also, second, if I may, just on that kind of question, would this mean getting British boots on the ground in front of beaches
Well, the question I was asked a moment ago was whether or not we should stop giving money to the French. Yes, absolutely. Cut off the money tomorrow. We're sending good money after that. My view on the small boats crisis for a long time has been, you don't rely on the kindness of strangers to secure your own borders. Take responsibility for securing your borders. Create your own sovereign deterrent. That means detaining and deporting absolutely everyone who steps foot on British soil, sending them back to where they came from, whether that's France or somewhere else. And frankly, I don't care where it is in the world, whether it's Afghanistan or Eritrea. They have no business coming to the UK. And if you say you're going to do whatever it takes, do whatever it takes. And that means absolutely nothing should be off the table. And then, sorry, what was the other question you had? Sorry, Aaron? Oh, how much? Well, look, we're going to have to wait to see what Andy Burnham's proposals are. We at Reform have set out some of the costings, and they are very, very large. They could be £18 billion. Local councils currently spend £35 billion on social care, so it could be more than that. If Andy Burnham sought to nationalise the current privately owned care home estate, that would be another £34 billion. And most people who've looked into this issue in the past have concluded that were the system to be a nationalised care system, the costs would quickly escalate, as they have in pretty much every other example of a free at the point of delivery service. And so I think we can be clear that a death tax of 10% would only just be the start, and it could very quickly escalate from there. I've got Rhiannon and James now from PA. Rhiannon.
Thank you. In April, Nigel Farage said he was in talks to appoint a health and social care spokesperson, and he mentioned a former NHS trust boss could be in the run-in for that. That hasn't materialised, and you still don't have one. So do you think that suggests that, addressing issues such as social care, such as the social care crisis, isn't a priority for Reform, and you're just not taking it seriously?
No. We're holding this press conference today. Have other opposition parties held a press conference dedicated to social care and this response? I haven't seen it. Reform is currently running 30 local authorities across the country which have responsibility for social care, more than any of the other political parties. We are absolutely at the coalface of this, trying to do our utmost to support people in difficult times. Don't tell us we don't care about this issue. We really do. What we don't want to see is hard-working Brits have to pick up the price of that for losing their home, losing their nest egg, not being able to hand it on to their children and their grandchildren. That's the point that we're making today. But thank you. I've got James here now from The Spectator. James.
Two-part, if I may. First of all, your speech had a reference to the landed aristocracy at one point. Reform is supposed to be a radical party. I wonder, therefore, whether you might be more amenable to wealth taxes overall than the Conservatives. And second of all, Nigel Farage has resigned to trigger a by-election over the standards process into him. One of your colleagues in Parliament has called that a kangaroo court. Is that the language that you would use too?
Well, I think I did use it. You may actually be referring to me, James. Look, I'm not here to cast aspersions on the Standards Commissioner. or the officials that work with him. The point that I made in the past is that all the other political party leaders have already prejudged the issue. Kemi Badenoch has said that she will stand a candidate in the next by-election. Well, what is the next by-election? What, the by-election after Nigel Farage has been found guilty? That's the point here. You know, it is not for Kemi Badenoch, Andy Burnham, Ed Davey, Zach Polanski, or any other politician to play judge, jury, and executioner of Nigel Farage. At the end of the day, we live in a democracy. It's for the people to determine. If the people of Clacton get behind Nigel with knowledge of all of the facts and say, we want this man to be our Member of Parliament, then let that be the determiner of who represents the people of Clacton in the House of Commons. That's the point of this by-election. It is the people versus the establishment. And look, having been to Clacton a number of times, I have every confidence that the people of Clacton are going to support Nigel every step of the way. With respect to the landed aristocracy, look, the way I see reform is this. The Labour Party is for Benefit Street. The Tory Party is for Belgravia. Reform exists for the 80% in the middle. The hard-working, decent people of this country, the workers, and the people who worked their whole lives and are now retired and just simply want dignity and security in the last decades of their lives. So our policies will be for them. Our policies will not be for Benefit Street, nor will they be for the richest in the land. That's why everything that I have done so far as Reform Shadow Chancellor has been focused on those people. Cut taxes for working people, like no tax on overtime, like saying that we'll scrap Rachel Reeves' job-destroying increase in employers' national insurance for British workers, like saying we'll stick with the triple lock to support pensioners. That gives you a sense of what a reform government would do. Always for the 80% in the middle, never for Benefit Street, and not for Belgravia either. I've got Teddy Stoddart now from Bloomberg.
Good morning, Robert. Thank you. You name-checked Palantir specifically when you spoke today as a valid provider of sort of single patient records. But clinicians have told us that there's other homegrown alternatives such as Cypher. And I was wondering whether reform has a preference for homegrown tech. And a follow-up question, not a follow-up question, a second question, on whether reform considers itself confident that it knows the source of George Cottrell's wealth.
Well, on your second question, I don't think there's anything more to add. I've already said that we followed all the electoral rules, and we're very confident of that. On your first point, look, I said a few weeks ago that a reform government is always going to put British people first. It's always going to put British businesses first. And so one of the changes that I would make as Chancellor is to rewrite our procurement rules so that we scrap all of the nonsense that has been labelled into them over recent times, like David Cameron's social value test that said things like people getting contracts off the government need to provide foreign languages or diverse workforce plans, and simply go for best value for money for the taxpayer, and can it be provided by a British company. So yes, we do have a preference for British businesses.
We're just listening in here to Reform UK as they are opposing Prime Minister Burnham's social care plan, which he announced earlier on this week. With that, my name is Bowen Kidrovich. So good to be with you here for the last couple of hours. Heading out for my final break now, but on the other side of this, my colleague Karel Lahara takes over the coverage.